Okay, you're live. We'll see. I kind of vary this on a schedule when I bother to post, if it's closer to the actual day, or in this case, farther out, just because. I had ordered some other hats and they haven't come yet. One says it's coming today, but I probably won't get it in time to bother to do an unboxing today. A little housekeeping before we jump into the other two things. Well, we are in week 7 of the boots challenge. So if you haven't checked that out, the 8 boots in 8 weeks challenge wraps up next week. I'm not cutting it short by a week, but so far this week I've only worn one pair of boots, but it was a different pair than the other pairs. So technically the other pair from last week that wasn't one of the one pairs got substituted in for one that was one of the substitute correct pairs or whatever. Anyway. And then another thing I did was the generated aesthetics thing, which I'll get into. I guess we'll do that first. I guess we'll do that now. This was kind of a fun thing that I had seen a couple videos back, and I don't remember which one. But let's see, nobody's watched 307, where I used the Hobbit fashion. 10 people or 10 views, could be a couple of people watched it more than once. And then the early spring reset only got 22 views. That was episode 306. And then the 8 boots challenge, of course, is an ongoing thing. So there won't be an episode of that this week. That'll be next week, the finale. But the last one, I cut it short, and so there was an overlap. So there was a really long episode that nobody really watched either, where I ended the previous and started the new. I'm not starting a new one right now because we're getting warm and we might not have time for a real proper boot challenge again. We'll see how it goes, how I feel in another 2 or 3 weeks. But episode 312, where I talked about GQ spring fashion essential stuff, that was kind of a rebuttal video mixed with some other stuff. That was an hour long. Nobody watched that. 4 views. The 2 of them were probably me trying to fix something. So you can watch that. Then the green outfits was in the Boot Talk episode 300. That was where I was really kind of outlining how to match green boots with green clothing, or not green clothing, depending, but mostly green clothing. So you might want to check that one out if you're still in spring mode. But I'm phasing out the darker green for the lighter greens. This was a conscious decision to switch to linen because it was warm. Although I wasn't sure, would this hat look better with this shirt for this video, perhaps, than this one? I thought this was kind of a good spring color hat and kind of light, but green with green, yeah, we'll do it for now. Although that one is, it doesn't have a leather band, so it's a little more comfy, I guess, for the in short term or indoors or whatever. So let's see, we had early winter reset was the 290. That got almost 30 views. So why I keep making these, I don't know. You people just don't watch these videos. I don't know who watches this stuff, but doesn't matter. Early winter was 287 with 5 whopping views. So revel in my misery. Watch me go. Of course, being, like I said, doing these out of order. I'll talk about the actual spring reset in a minute. I'm not going, and now this is a live feed, so I can't post pictures, and I didn't take the pictures even if I wanted to yet. What pictures I end up taking is kind of to be determined. I went to a generator thing. I don't remember what I did last time. I think last time I just piggybacked on somebody else's generated ones. This time I went to a thing to see about how it would generate my own, and I was lazy. I only tried one, and most of what it gave me was garbage, like literal garbage. But so one of the things, like a lot of times it would give you a word that doesn't really help augment the other word, like tropical aesthetic. Okay, well, you either have Hawaiian prints or you don't, I guess. Cottage style, but then sometimes it add the word wave, whatever that means. So then there was cozy style, which I guess just means hoodies and sweatpants. So obviously I'm not going to take photos of cozy style. Although I suppose Hobbit style is the jokey thumbnail that I've been waiting to use that artwork. It's also somebody else's artwork, but I thought it was hilarious and I kept waiting to have an occasion to use it. This one kind of more timely, moon style, but pop. So I don't know what pop means in terms of moon style. Ignore my battle scars if you're looking at that. So moon wave, that kind of timely, because of course there's a moon mission going on right now that's somewhat captivating to young people who obviously don't watch this channel. Or whatever. And then cottage style is kind of partly what I do. Well, again, I'll get into that when I do more show and tell in a minute. I don't necessarily, I was going to wear this shirt and then I didn't. But tropical aesthetic, but minimalist. So what would that mean? You only own like one of them or something? I don't know. The bare essentials to get you through a week. Or just a really simplistic, like I could have a plain shirt and then a tie with pineapples on it. And that would be even more minimalist tropical style than a loud shirt, right? I guess. Or I could have the pants with the little embroideries. And, you know, you wouldn't be able to tell from a distance that they're palm trees. You'd have to get up close. I guess that's slightly more minimal. I don't know. Cottage style gingham. Florals. I'm not really sure. I mean, for men, that would mostly kind of mean more workwear, right? Everything's kind of stacked. But, you know, hickory stripes, double knee jeans or canvas. I'm not sure. Of course, I have overalls in both hickory and denim, so we can do that if that's in fact cottage style. I've been using some of it as I said, you know, kind of bridging the gap between cowboy and mountain. So, yeah, something we'll discuss in a minute. Then next, this one was interesting, but I think it's too late in the year to really go for it. And I'm not entirely sure how I would approach it, but I'm going to think about it and maybe post photos of this one if I come up with something acceptable. Although I suppose something like this could be integrated in a way, and that is surreal academia instead of dark academia. And I have a whole bunch of graphics for dark academia that I haven't used yet either. So maybe I'll make a video on that if I think of some kind of ways, like instead of pairing this with a palm tree tie, we're pairing it with a tweed jacket now. I hadn't thought that one all the way through yet. And then one was steam core, which there's already a steampunk, which I never really quite embraced because it's kind of a dirty version of just Edwardian clothes, I guess. I'm not entirely, or maybe you're wearing goofy accessories with Edwardian clothes. I'm not really positive how that's done. And then one was a total oxymoron. I hesitate to even say it, but it's one of the bonus ones. Was clean grunge. Like there's just two opposite things, literally. I don't know how you pull that off. And then the last one, again, we already have this aesthetic, and we just use a different name or two for it. Is C core, which of course is Capitan core or nautical, preppy nautical or otherwise nautical, different kinds of nautical, which of course I've gone into at great length on this channel in several videos. And one of my typical springtime go-tos that's been intentionally neglected this year because I have so much other stuff that I haven't worn as much as I would like, or at all in some cases, like the cowboy stuff that I was trying to get to or get through a bit of it more or less successfully, but then I, kind of had to default for the warmer weather, like I said, to not wanting to wear denim jeans, not wanting to wear tall boots, not wanting to wear I have been wearing some felt hats, but not necessarily dark brown or black ones, especially out in the daytime, that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't remember when the last time I did a proper nautical, although I did Preppy Style 6 months ago. 18 views, episode 245. So you can find that one and some others. I guess I should have put a part 1 and a part 2. Is this technically part 2 where I'm kind of in between babbling to myself and not babbling to myself? So yeah, the Hobbit thing. It is something I'm going to revisit for real one of these days, and then maybe change this thumbnail for a different thumbnail or something. I haven't quite figured that out yet, because of course for a man, the Hobbit fashion is, cropped pants with, regular British hunting clothes or outdoor, your weekend retreat clothes or whatever, kind of already a thing. And I have compiled, speaking of hats, or not speaking of hats, or mentioning hats, I had started making a list of the hats that I wore this winter, plus a more full inventory of the hats that I have, to try and see what I was going to thin of the herd, if any, yet. So I'm going to do a really long hat video, and that's not this either. So I'm intentionally not talking about hats when I say I'm talking about hats. Hobbits can wear a little bit of hats, but typically it might be like one straw one. Hobbits aren't necessarily known for their hats. The wizard had his hat. That was kind of a thing, but I don't remember any real mention of hobbits and hats. But the breeks, the shooting socks and all that, if you take away the shooting socks, I guess you already have Hobbit pants there, like I was saying. So I don't really have an actual honest addition for that aspect of the video. Like I said, clickbait, intentional clickbait. This got jammed in here. Okay. See, usually I hold up the part 1 sign, and then when people need to know where to scroll to, they can go to the part 2 sign. But since I didn't clue them in that there was a part 1 and a part 2 sign, they won't know to scroll ahead, and I don't know who scrolls ahead anyway and all that. Also, I'm going to throw this in here in the middle instead of at the end. You can buy me a coffee or a pizza, as the thing goes. That's an actual thing that I signed up for that nobody is doing. But since I have so few subscribers, I won't, expect a miracle, but it would be nice if I'd had more subscribers above anything else, because I guess that's how you get money on YouTube, is people have to actually watch the stuff. So I don't know what suggestions you have for stuff that you might want to watch that isn't this. But if you're actually watching this, then I guess you're enjoying this. You're still watching. I don't know. And it went blurry, but that'll fix itself in a minute, I hope. So in the Dice of Fate here, now that we're here in part 2. Oh, and Boycott Tinder. I'll talk about that more at the end, but I'm not joking. That's a real thing that I want people to take to heart, that this is just a ripoff. I did part 3 already. I have plenty more stuff for part 4, but haven't gotten any real views on that yet. Maybe all my viewers are happily married, but somehow I doubt it. But will you find true love on a dating app? The odds seem stacked against it, especially if you are a man, especially with employees who don't like you for one reason or another for being a man, or other reasons. and who are serial daters, not married, well over 30, etc., etc. But that's neither here nor there. Now with the clothing, excuse me. So in the spring, as I said, I was pursuing the sort of Western wear thing. I had gotten yet another Wrangler chambray shirt that I found with the snaps instead of the buttons that I haven't worn, and this nice summery color, but alas, probably won't be wearing it much because the dice wants me to sub in the mountain category and phase out the cowboy category again. So we're flip-flopping again from last month or the month before, whatever. Staying in the category is kind of the adventure theme. So we still have the indie, which I'm not wearing technically indie, although that shirt would look more like indie than a green one. And this hat is not the exact indie hat and is not brown, obviously, and is not in focus still. But again, we have in the the mountain category being kind of a loose category. Does have some hats, not necessarily Hobbit hats, not necessarily all in good condition. Everything's funny to me today. I don't know why. But yeah, this is again kind of an indie shirt because they added the piping to it and they put in the more elaborate epaulets with the crossy beam things and the whatever. But it's already almost too warm for twill shirts like this too. So we'll see how it goes with the twill shirt. Of course, I brought that in for the hat video to show the different colors more than the this video, but that was convenient to be able to show that kind of an indie shirt if it was tan, right? But I don't just dress specifically like a movie character, especially not all day, every day. And indie, more of an autumn look. Then the next thing was safari, which of course I did 2 pretty long videos about safari clothes. One kind of for green and one kind of for brown. And those were about a year ago, I think. See if I can find 221 and 217. So episodes, those. And then, of course, the Akubra hat was episode 222, a different model than this one, the Territory. And prior to that, the more similar to this one with the wider brim was episode 215, which has gotten 307 views, which is decent, but the other one has twice as many views, so which is better. And how many of them are watching it all the way through, I don't know. And then boots, of course, like I said, I can be wearing. It's kind of an either-or situation. Of course, I have the Builder Pro Logger style. This is total mountain wear, but not necessarily the ones that I will, again, wear all day, every day. And then, of course, I got the upgraded version. It's also a Builder Pro, but I had them redo it with a mock toe stitch. And still got to get some wear in these like I promised. So that can definitely try to happen if it's not too hot. Because, again, this tall of a thing, we'll see how it goes. I've been wearing the inexpensive combat boots, tactical ones a little bit. Just to use those, even though they weren't on the list, like I said. So I won't go too much into boots. But part of the aesthetic is the kind of military thing that doesn't go away. But the pilot thing, which indie, safari, and pilot are all kind of related, as I've explained many long times ago in whatever video that was. I don't even know where to look for that. It's in, I assume, well, pilots don't really, I didn't really do much headwear. Outerwear, I did leather jackets and all that kind of thing. So you could go to that playlist first, maybe. And I had a bunch about the Tom Cruise jacket from Top Gun, 2 or 3 about that, and some other stuff about the indie jacket and motorcycle jackets and Here we go, Flyboy. This was a pretty comprehensive thing, an hour and a half, so it was done in segments, episode 134. So if you really want to see about that, go to that instead of the Safari video first or whatever. And then I had, like I said, I did Maverick Jacket, episode 80, but I did an update on the Maverick Jacket a couple times since then. And more recently, in comparing brands that I found on eBay, basically. Nothing really hobbity about leather jackets per se. So here was the redo, episode 252. And then, of course, nautical sweaters, the Iron Snail one, 267. There was a previous... Sorry for the... Oh, Capitan Core, Fisherman Core, 208. Yeah. And then Fashion Trends and Styles, Classic Outfit Looks, 197. That got 8 whole views, whereas Capitan Core got 40 views at least. Yeah. So it's not like I haven't covered all this stuff. So this hat video that I'm going to do, that is really restating a lot of stuff that I did way back when, and just shamelessly, but adding some new hats to the mix, and instead of showing photos, doing a show and tell again, which is more convenient in this format. So then in the pilot thing, yeah, I had worn this shirt previously in a video, and I got super sweaty trying to wear it because this kind of stretch polyester nightmare kind of thing. But being a glutton for punishment, I did buy a new one in a slightly different pattern. Now this is supposed to be tan or true khaki, and instead it's this kind of greenish British khaki, and the collar kind of munched. So it doesn't really match what the color claimed it was. But it is the Flying Tigers camp shirt, so that's fun. And I do have the hat that's supposed to sort of match it, so I guess maybe that's why it's greenish, but it's not the same green. So I was going to wear that for this video and then just didn't, because like I said, I went with the linen so I could try to be less sweaty while I'm doing the video. But so fans of this channel will get to see this shirt in action soon. And I don't know if that counts as surreal academia in any way, shape, or form. This may be close. It's kind of tropical more than academic, but again, I could see how it does with Donegal tweed trousers and a felt brim fedora. I don't know. And then in the back burner on the aesthetic, again, always the kind of nautical for the default. If I really just decided to pitch everything else and wear my polo shirts and shorts, I will. But I don't. With the weather fluctuations in this time of the year and all that, the heat waves and the cold streaks and the supposedly rain again this weekend, you know, kind of hard to do all that. But so the mountain thing again, you know, like some, you know, like I said, some of it can be the railroad overalls. I'd meant to wear a couple pairs of these already and didn't. But the key ones are in the other room, so they're all ready to go for the next couple days. If we get this rainy spell, I might wear those instead of. I'm just wearing some chino pants right now. It's nothing too exciting. And the wrong color belt, perhaps, for whatever color shoes I might choose. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, this was I did that twice. So yeah, some more mountain hats. These are called, since we're on the topic, safari hats by a lot of the companies now, but I don't call them true safari hats. I talked about that in the recent video, and I'll talk about that a lot more coming up. What video was that? The Stetson Tri-City felt hat. 8 views so far. That one's a new video though, from 2 days ago. 319, episode 319. I talk kind of extensively about safari hats already in that episode. In fact, so long that people probably got bored waiting for me to bring out the actual main hat, because it's a 45-minute video and I don't bring out the hat until about 30 minutes in. But it's not all useless information. But if you want to scroll ahead, I guess you will. But that is definitely a hat that I will discuss a little further, but well, I don't have plans to wear it now because we're in the wrong time of the year, and the hat that I said I was going to wear I haven't worn yet because, again, it's been too warm to wear a felt hat much outside. And although I have been wearing the other Akubra just to try and break it in, but we're already at the point where I'm wanting more of these again, fake safari ones with the open crowns instead of the traditional style ones. So we'll see how it goes. But technically, these hats I don't consider like pilot hats. They kind of look wrong when you wear them with the leather jacket sometimes, unless you're really going for the indie look more than the pilot look. So there's a kind of a confused middle ground there. I've explored that a bit in the past in my pilot video from way back when. Oops, I clicked the wrong. Again, if you go to outerwear rather than headwear, you find that kind of video faster. Whereas indie, I don't remember if I put that in the indie playlist, so it doesn't really matter. But I did, I thought, and in one of the earlier videos, I don't know if it was chapter 3 or chapter 2, somewhere in there, I thought I talked about the pilot thing already, way back when. And then, of course, chapter 22, cabin core, flannel shirts, and mountain man attire. Mountain man attire, like I said, I typically consider an autumn-winter thing. Oh, and then the first nautical winter one was chapter 26. And then leather flight jackets, bomber aviator jackets, chapter 55. There you go. Yeah, I consider that more of an autumn-winter thing, but unlike chapter 108, Western cowboy shirts and stuff, which I did a follow-up of that too later. In summer, it just means like camp shirts, typically for me, plaid with buttons, you know. And I have a ton of them, but I also consider that jazz. But jazz is a broad category, which actually can include Irish and Scottish kind of stuff, but also Hobbity stuff. So, but the jazz age, the tie-in being with the Mountain Man thing, was The River Runs Through It, the Brad Pitt movie. They exist in the 20s, so they're mostly costumed or dressed like the 20s. But to me, that kind of becomes part of, you know, a more rugged version of, you know, instead of Al Capone, you know, you're doing more of a tweedy professor look. Oh, here it is. Western shirts, 146 again. And then fall flannel shirts, 147. So I got a whole bunch in the outerwear playlist here. Fall autumn casual looks, 153. Autumn reset, 155. Yeah. And then holiday flannel shirts, where I switched up the colors, 166. And I did 2 of those. I thought, forget which video is which. So not to lose my train of thought too badly, but and then last year's late spring reset was episode 223. That was supposed to be a no-buy year, and I did pretty well on the no-buy year last year. This year I'm splurging a little bit on hats just because I kind of want to get them all and be done, or get some nicer ones and be done. Yada, yada, yada. But yeah, you know, camp shirts, chino shorts is mountain enough. LL Bean-ish. Some Orvis stuff. All that. You know, it's like I said, it's summer camp, but summer camp can also be, you know, polo shirts and nautical, but we're making a distinction between nautical and mountain always, even though some shirts can fall into either category. And as fans of this channel will know, who've watched those other 3 videos, the one of you, oh, that shirt is kind of mountainy, but sometimes he wears it to look boaty, or vice versa, more accurately, probably. So that's about it, I guess. 30 minutes, a little bit longer than I kind of wanted, but not terrible. So yeah, if you have any questions, as always, put them in the comments, and I'll try and come up with good answers. I didn't want this to be a super long video, and it kind of went a little bit longer than intended, but yeah, whatever, that's life. I had the chat on in case anybody had anything to say, but nobody popped in. It's kind of early on a Tuesday, so I don't know what I expected, but just keep, you know, like I said, getting it out there before these hats all show up, and I have to do more hat videos that will attract more viewers anyway, I guess, theoretically. And boycott Tinder. Do it. Don't rely on these money grubbing thieves or fraudsters or whatever they are to find you true romance. They don't have any real vested interest to do that I can see.